Yes, 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 yes. We are live 3 p.m. on the East Coast. Friday, January 7th, 2022. I got the year right. New year, new show. This is the first show, Road to 1 million streams of 2022. I am super excited to have my man, Premise, on the show. Premise, what's up, bro?
What's going on, Mike? How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm a little like we were just talking before the show. I'm a little tired from shoveling, but I'm good, man. I'm hanging in there. I got a little frostbite action going on in the face from all the cold hitting me, but I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm
Yeah,
alive.
yeah, yeah. It's trials living on the East Coast, I like to call
Exactly, bro. But listen, we're used to it, man. So we're soldiers. We're hanging in there, man. But listen, I
it.
appreciate you coming through the show today. Really excited to talk to you. It's been a long journey, man. Been a long journey for sure.
Yeah, definitely. It's going on 8 years now. So I'll 2022 is the eighth year I've been doing this, and yeah, it feels like yesterday I really just started. It's pretty crazy to think that 8 years later I'm still doing this. I started off just doing this as a kid,
Mhm.
um, just a hobby, something I did for fun, and here I am 8 years later, million streams on BeatStars, and so I make majority of my income, and I'm living on my own, and I'm living the dream. I don't really know what else much else to say.
Dude, I love it, man. We're gonna dive into all of that because I have a lot of questions. I'm sure people watching this have a lot of questions. But yeah, I mean, just really quick for people who have not seen this show before, and I'm pretty sure everybody here has, but I'll go over it just in case. This is a show that highlights members that have hit 1 million streams on BeatStars, and it's organically. So that means they are legitimate streams, and they've earned it through whatever promotion they've been doing and just being seen on the marketplace and just building their customer base and all that good stuff. So there's a lot of information to gain from these shows. And what you'll hear, I'm sure from Premise, as he already kind of said, it takes time. I mean, he said 8 years. So there's other guys and girls who've been on here that's been longer than that. There's some that have been shorter than that. So everybody's journey is different. But you're going to find a lot of similarities as well. I'm sure we're going to be talking about consistency a lot and things like that. But let's get right into it, man. So we talked about the East Coast. We hate in the snow right now. Where are you from, man? Were you born in where you're from? Like,
Yeah,
where you're at right now?
yeah, yeah. I was born and raised Long Island, New York, and then I had 4 years of school upstate New York, which snows even worse. But for the majority of my life, I've been down here.
How is it? It's always cold, huh?
In the winter, yeah, winter's brutal. I always dream about moving out to the West Coast, but I don't got to worry about the snow no more. But yeah, I love growing up here, and I growing up, I got into a lot of the local music, and that kind of inspired me to go this direction.
Interesting. Okay. What's the music scene like up there, man? I mean, was it something that was easy to get into? I mean, did you have people around you, I guess, too, who were kind of inspiring you to do it, or like, what's your story? How did
Ooh,
like,
yeah.
that all come together?
I mean, like I was a pretty seclusive kid. I mean, I was just kind of on my computer a lot, and through that, I found all these hip hop blogs, and I got super into just music in general at a young age. But about the time I hit high school, it was really only hip hop. I think the first like major hip hop artist I listened to that I loved was Eminem, and then from there I got into like the super obscure stuff. So I got into like Doom and
Mm,
like Wu Tang and some more local guys from New York because I always had that New York pride in me. So I got into guys like ASAP Rock and Ari the Rugged Man, a few of my favorite artists. And from there, I was just like, damn, like I want to participate in this. And I knew I
mhm.
wasn't an MC. I knew I couldn't do that. But I was like, hey, I'm good. I know a lot of this stuff is done digitally. I'm good with computers. I might have a shot at being a producer. I had a little musical background. I played guitar, I played piano when I was younger. So I thought like maybe I could give this a shot.
I want to just say something too. You mentioned an artist. I don't want to make sure people heard you right. You said ASAP Rock, not ASAP Rocky. Just want to
Yeah,
clarify that.
yeah, yeah,
Just in
yeah.
case any of the young bucks in the house don't know about ASAP Rock, man, go check him out. Super dope MC. So let me ask you, and if you don't want to answer this, it's totally fine. But how old are you?
I'm 23.
23. So you're fairly young, man. So what hip hop blogs did you grow up on? Like what were you reading that really got you hip? You mentioned you started going on blogs and things like that.
Oh, I was on like DatPiff a lot. I forget to be honest. Like early Reddit a lot. Like
Hip hop
just
head, the hip hop heads forum.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Come on, bro.
Uh,
That Piff was one of my clients. I worked at Hip Hop DX for 7 years. So I mean, like that was my bread and butter, man. The blog. We could do a whole show on the blog era, but I'll let you talk. But it was exciting when I heard you say that, so that's why I was
Yeah,
wondering.
yeah, no, just a lot of hip hop blogs and just a lot of like hip hop nerds, just like trading tracks and artists and records, and it was just a great kind of era to grow up in, that blog era, like you say, where like you can meet a bunch of random guys, and you could just swap all your favorite artists, and then get them into stuff, and they get you into stuff, and it was really awesome and really influential on like me figuring out what I was into. So yeah, that was huge for me.
Dude, the blog era was a totally different era. I think that was as the blog era ended, and this kind of era we're in now and going more into started. But the blog era was kind of, there was years where like if you got front page love on hiphopdx.com, you were getting a record deal the next week. In
Yeah.
some sense, whether it was with an indie or a major or whatever it was, that's like literally that was how people were blowing up back then. Like that was, I guess, the TikTok or whatever you want to call it back then. So there was so much influence from the blog scene. So I'm right there with you, bro, because that's where I was heavily influenced and met a lot of artists. I remember like FaceTiming Wiz Khalifa back in the day when he was a nobody, just talking about his
Wow.
mixtapes and like just all these different people, J Rock and Kendrick Lamar. That's how I met them through Hip Hop DX and built a relationship with them. So
Yeah.
but anyway, we want to make it about that. This is always about you, man. So it's cool to know that you kind of started in like the hip hop blog space and you were rocking out with a lot of like the actual like New York MCs and the MCs that were really doing it. Outside of that, was there any other influences like in your household, family member, play instrument, parents, grandparents, anything like that? Like, where do you think outside
Nah,
of just the other influences, where did it come from?
I don't
Anything?
know. I think it just kind of came out of like I said, I was just super into hip hop once I hit high school. Like it's like all I wanted to do was listen to music, and I remember like my friends would give me their iPods, and I'd bring them back to my place, and then like load them up with the thousands and thousands of songs I had on my computer. And I was like, that was my thing. I was like the music dealer. I was getting everyone, putting everyone on new artists, putting everyone onto new tracks that they would eventually like, and then that I love that, and I'm like, damn, like I see the power that like like this has, especially like hip hop was just growing and growing and growing at that time, 10 11 years ago. So I mean, I was like, I just want to be a part of this. And it's weird because no one in my family is really musical besides myself, so I mean they all think it's kind of like strange I ended up like this,
Mm-hmm.
but I look at it like a wonderful accident. Yeah, and I just really wanted to participate. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to give this a shot. I'm going to buy a full studio. I'm going to do it the right way, and I'm going to give it a shot. And at first, it was tough. It was not easy.
It's never easy when you're first getting started. It looks easy from the outside looking in, and then when you start doing it, you're like, oh shit, this is definitely going to take a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. I remember my first time opening up a full studio. I buy the thing. I think I begged my parents to get me in there. Like they didn't even know what the hell it was. Like, why is this box cost $300?
Mm-hmm.
And they buy it for me, and I install it, and I sit down, and in about 20 minutes, I was like, this was a total waste of money. I'm in way over my head here. I'm never gonna be able to figure out how to do this. And I walked away from it, and
Mm-hmm.
I just kind of gave up. And then I don't know what made me come back, but about, maybe 2, 3 months later, I sat back down, and that was the time where everything just kind of clicked. And I'm like, wow, like, and then progress becomes addicting. So like, you figure out one thing, like, oh, that's how I, make a hi-hat roll, and then the next day you figure out like, oh, that's how I make an 808 slide, and then everything kind of snowballs, and that progress, that like constant growth becomes so addicting.
I bet, man. What year was this? Do you think? Like
Ooh,
when you got
so
FL Studio?
yeah, so I was probably 15, so I'm gonna say it was about
2013 ish.
2013, 2014 ish.
Okay, gives me a sense of kind of when you were getting into it, what music was out there. So based off of what you just told me, right? Your MCs, and it's cool because I like all those MCs too. I grew up in the '90s boom bap era. That's really how I was influenced in hip hop. But when I listen to a lot of your beats, I don't really hear those MCs.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
To an extent, there are some things you have a dope catalog, but the stuff I was looking at that was really having good traction, we're picking up good sales, stuff like that. I was hearing the baby and a lot of different other people who are all dope too. I'm a fan of them too. So I guess, how did you transition from like those influences on the MC side to how you were making your music, and then as you progressed, like how did that come about and started like making beats with other artists in mind?
Yeah, so a lot of my super early stuff was kind of just like you said, like super influenced by like, those boom bap 90s artists like I mentioned previously. Um and all my early stuff was sample based, like I said, just like heavy like boom bap drums. And then somewhere I think when I went to college, so at this time I'm older, I'm probably like 19 years old, and I don't know, I had this kind of like this epiphany where I'm like, I have to kind of change things up. I almost get tired of making the same thing. And I was
Hmm.
like, I like some of these new artists coming out. I think at that time, I was getting into a lot of the trap music at the time, and I wasn't a fan of that when I was younger. I thought it was, like too loud, too abrasive, and I'm like, there's no lyricism. But as I got older, I almost grew an appreciation for it. I'm like, this is fun, and I want to make fun music. And from there, I kind of just realized that now might be a good time to just make a total like transition. So I just kind of learned how to make more like hard abrasive music, kind of stop using boom bap drums, stop using samples, and kind of just shift my whole style. And then that's when everything really kind of caught fire for me. It wasn't easy to kind of transition like that, but it was fun to kind of learn everything again, because making boom bap beats and making more of like trap modern hip hop beats is way different.
Hmm.
It's a entirely different skill set. It takes an entirely different like mindset to tackle. So I mean, learning how to do that wasn't easy, but that's what ended up giving me success at the end of the day. And I love, like you said, I love all types of
Yeah.
hip hop, so it doesn't really matter what I'm making.
And honestly, bro, like that, those other influences, like your older influences, like they still have an influence even when you're making like the trap stuff and other stuff for sure. You might not even realize it, but it will come through for sure. And give you kind of still like your own style and kind of like your own signature sound. So
Yeah,
um
absolutely.
I think it's dope. So I guess like anybody else watching this that is thinking of, maybe they make boom bap or maybe they make trap and they want to start making boom bap. And they just want to switch things up. Like, what was the process? I mean, you can just summarize it. It doesn't have to be a long, drawn out process, but what was kind of like the steps? Because you said, listen, I'm gonna stop sampling. I'm gonna stop doing this. I'm gonna start like, how did you know to then go do this? Right? Like, how did you even know to how to switch that up and really transition to a different sound? Was there blogs you were reading or video or vlogs, I should say? Were you social media, certain
It was really
producers?
just that's a good question. I think it was really just influence from the people listening to my beats. So that time I was in college, and like, guys would come in my dorm room and listen to the stuff I was making, and they'd be like, yeah, like it's a cool beat and all, but like where are the 808s? Like where like I like this doesn't really like knock. And I'm like, oh, well, yeah, that's not the type of beats I make. And they're like, well, could you make stuff like that? And I'm like, well, I mean, I guess I could learn. So that's kind of how it happened. Just like, and then make it like make a great beat, and then you want to show your friends, and then they come back, and then you play trap beat that bangs, and they're like, wow, like this is hard. And then you see the smiles on their faces, and then you're like, okay, like maybe I got something here, maybe this is how I can make a transition. um like I said, I still love to make like that boom bap style beats, but at the end of the day, the truth of the matter is, they don't necessarily do as well. Like artists want to rap on more modern sounding beats. Most do. I think there's definitely a market for both, but for the most part, at that time, that sound was very popular. So I thought it would be a smart transition, and just to see like people's reactions when I did switch to that style, I got all positive reactions. So I'm like, I'm gonna keep going down this rabbit hole because I'm seeing good results.
Yeah. I think too, man, with like again, some of the MCs that you named and making more boom bap stuff, you're usually dealing with a little bit more. I don't know how I want to say it without sounding semi rude. I guess more intellectual rhymes or more thought out metaphors and analogies. And I think with the boom bap rappers and like people kind of who are a little bit older or maybe grew up following that, really kind of like I don't know how to say this without sounding rude because I'm not trying to say trap rappers don't rap good or they don't have good metaphors, but I think there was just a little bit more put into it on the boom bap side because I think again how the beats are laid out are a little bit more in depth and there's a little bit more stuff going on and I don't know like different drops and breaks and I don't know just it's different to me. So to me, I feel like a lot of trap beats and a lot of the more modern stuff is just easier to rap on. Is my point
Mhm.
here. I think it's you're giving them easier lane and giving a lot of room for the artist to breathe. With boom bap, I just feel like for the most part, not all the time, but for the most part, you know, the MC is really going to dictate how the style, sound, all these different things are happening. And I think the beat again is a little bit more in depth, samples involved, whatever it is. I just think there's more like breathing room for an artist to kind of find that flow and that rhythm on a trap beat. I just think it's a little bit easier. So I think it's helped a lot of people who maybe aren't as great as writers as some of like boom bap artists. It's just been giving them like an easier lane, I guess, to be found. I don't know if you'd agree with that or you've seen that the transition going from one to the other, but it's just something I've noticed, I guess, working with artists for so many years.
Yeah, no, I agree that to some extent. I mean, I think that today you see a lot of combination of the both. And I've definitely implanted that as the years went on. Using kind of chopping samples for the melody, and then for your drums, you do more of a modern style with 808s and fast hi hats and all that. And I really love that sound. And I think that you see the artists like Drake do that all the time.
Hmm.
Chop up a nice soul sample from the 70s, and then he has these kind of fast rattling hi-hats and these boomy 808s, and I think it's a really lovely marriage of both of those kind of styles coming together. And that's something I really dig, and that's something I do a lot on my own uh, side. So I think that there's definitely an argument for I don't think which one's better. It just comes down to pure opinion at that point, and the artist's preference. But I like to please every artist. I'd like to say that there's something in my catalog for every artist out there. So you really just want to switch it up, and you might have a younger artist who's into the trap stuff, and older artist who's into the boom bap stuff. So that way, if you have a little bit of everything, you can appease both. So I think that's very important.
No, great points, man. Great points. Yeah, Workstation B says I disagree. I think trap rappers have to be more melodic, and that could be harder. Yeah, I agree to an extent too. Listen, again, I think it's an opinion, and I guess we all have them, but I think there's some truth to all of it. So you thinking about switching to any other genres, or are you kind of where you're at? You're with boom bap and kind of doing the trap thing, or are you experimenting with anything else? You're
Yeah. Actually, yeah. I was my one of my roommates got me into he brought me to a which is I guess necessarily a rave. And he got me really into just like electronic dance music and more of electronic music in general. And I've really been digging that, and I've been experimenting with that in my own time. Obviously, I think it's radically different than the stuff on my in my current catalog. So I think it would be kind of a huge lane switch to kind of drop on the people who listen to my music. So I don't plan on releasing that anytime soon, but like doing that in my own time, just as like an exercise and kind of like just to express myself, is a ton of fun.
Dude, it's funny that you bring that up. We have a lot in common, man, that I didn't realize. I actually was heavy into like the rave and electronic music scene for about 3 to 4 years. Some people might not believe it, but I still had like my hip hop element in what I was doing, but I was like heavily involved in like the Philadelphia the scene. So I know a lot of electronic producers slash DJs, and what I found really dope about that genre was just the melodies and just like the vibes you got from some of the music, and you didn't need to have an MC or anybody on top or a singer or whatever. Just the music overall was just really dope.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, and like someone like me who's just like loves production. Like my friends hate listening to music with me in like the car because I'm like like the other day I listened to a Pop Smoke song, and of course I'm a producer. I'm like and then I yell out over the music. I'm like, you guys hear those 808 slides? And they're like, dude, we don't care. This shit goes hard. I'm like, yeah, you guys just don't appreciate it. But I like listening to the electronic music because it's just that, so it lets me kind of focus on
mhm.
like the composition. And to me, it's like they're doing stuff that's totally different from what hip hop producers are doing, and it's so in depth, and it's just so manic and expressive sometimes that I'm like, wow, like I really enjoy this, and it's entirely different art than making hip hop beats because you don't have to worry about an artist eventually coming on
Mhm.
and putting lyrics on top. So, but it's a ton of fun, and it's really different. I've been enjoying it lately.
Hell yeah, man. Yeah, the build ups and the drops were what I really like too about electronic music. Just having
Yeah,
that
yeah,
like
yeah.
you know what I mean? It just when you're at one of them parties, man, if you went, bro, this shit is
Yeah,
crazy.
it was my first time. I was a little in over my head, but it was
Yeah, everybody's probably on drugs there, but it's all good, man.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's all good, man. No, that's dope, dude. I didn't know that about you. So that's very interesting. Let's talk about your influence of sports and like comics, or I guess I could say Marvel. Like, what's your influence with that, man? And the reason I'm asking, because a lot of your tracks, when I'm going through them, I look at a lot of different stuff, not only music, but I look at a producer's brand. If I can see their store from far away and not see their name to see who it is, but I can look at their titles, I can look at the artwork. I like to be able to know who a producer is. And with you, I can do that. So there's just something about your names. They're short, they're easy to remember. There are a lot of sports influences. There's a lot of I'm not a comic or Marvel person, but I think like a lot of the things I saw are those. So you can correct me if I'm wrong. But what was that all about? Like, how did you tie that together into your brand, and what was the purpose? Or was it just shit you liked and you're like, I'm just gonna name my stuff this?
Yeah, so I mean, the strategy behind that was really when I was making beats, kind of back when I started to get a decent following on YouTube and on BeatStars. I uh, I realized that the beats that were doing well were ones where I would kind of theme them around something. So, like for example, I would theme a beat around, this is back when I think LeBron was still in the Cavs, and I made like a beat called LeBron, and then people were dropping lyrics in the comments, rapping about LeBron, and I'm like, wow, I'm like that, like that gives people kind of a little jump start on inspiration. If you tie the beat around something, or I'm a big comic book guy, so make a beat around Batman, and maybe throw like a Batman sample in there, make it dark, eerie, kind of similar to that. And then people are inspired. People are dropping raps about Batman in the comments. And then I noticed when people eventually release the beat and make songs, they're making tracks with titles like The Dark Knight or Batman, or like superhero. And so I think that revolving their beat around a theme like that gives people kind of a jump start on inspiration, to kind of give them an idea of maybe what direction their track should go in. And that became kind of a strategy moving on. So every time I made a new beat, I'm like, okay, like what do I feel like I could incorporate this with? Maybe if it's triumphant sounding, maybe it's like a great basketball player that I know, or maybe if it's eerie sounding, maybe it'll be involved with like a super villain or something like that. Or maybe if it's it uses these grand horns and this big orchestra, maybe it sounds like it could be part of like a Star Wars soundtrack. So then I incorporate all of those kind of pop culture references into the music, whether it's a sample, whether it's just a video accompanying it, whether it's just the logo. But I think that gives people a nice like creative jump start when they listen to the beat, and then hopefully eventually purchase the beat to make their own song with.
Dude, genius, man. I may want to make sure everybody heard that part. We're definitely going to cut that up and put that on social media, because I think it's super important, man. Like it's there's so much more you can do than just make beats, right? This is a business, and branding's a huge part of it. I know we've all seen that meme that's going around, and it's a picture of a coffee cup, and it's white, just white, and it's like $1. And then it's like a picture of the same cup, coffee cup with the Starbucks logo, and it's like 5.50. And again, I mean, that's the simplest way to explain it. But yes, branding is very important, and your titles and even I guess the color schemes that you use for them have drawn me in as a consumer, and I remember that. Now I'm probably on BeatStars more than the average person, but it's still been very helpful to to really be able to see your beats without even seeing your name, at times. So um, I have a request too, actually, for your next beat or one of your next beats. I would love if you could do a producer whisperer beat. I'll give you my producer whisperer logo. You can put the little character on there, man. You can name it producer whisperer.
Yeah, Mike, I might be able to make that happen. I think we can work
I think
something out.
it'd be dope, man. Listen, I don't even want anything, dude. 0%, man. 0%. So give it all to you. But no, man, that's it's really cool, because I don't really see a lot of people like making their beats and really putting a lot of thought into that aspect of it. And something else that I was just thinking of is how many people actually are looking for a Batman beat or something? Maybe they heard something in the movie that they liked, and they're like, "Oh, I wonder if there's something on there." So I think you're also ahead of everyone, because I don't think anybody else is really thinking of that stuff as titles. So when people go to search for it, you're probably being found easier, and they're probably gravitating towards your stuff because it just jumps out when they see it.
Yeah, yeah, and I like to think that it helps with the algorithm, just kind of having a popular IP in the title, or a popular thing in the title. Um, for example, like a lot of people are probably punching in LeBron to the search bar. So if your beat is called LeBron James or King James, and people are searching that, then there's a better shot that it's going to come up in recommended videos and whatnot. So I think that that helps a lot. And also just kind of not only realizing what you like, because a lot of stuff that I deem my beats around are stuff that I like, but it also has to be stuff that it's popular, that people are searching for, people are clicking on. So you want to make sure that you kind of have a grasp on what people are into in the current kind of like the the grand scheme of like pop culture now. And then what you want to do is kind of pinpoint something that you like, something that you're into, and then basically, take that and then make a beat around it. And I've had massive success doing that. I've seen
Mhm.
after I've done it, other artists started doing it, and then
Mhm.
they've been seeing success. So yeah, I mean that was huge for me, and it was kind of just an idea I had one day, and I've been doing it ever since.
It's crazy, man. I love it. I love it. Um, I'm gonna move on to my next notes I had down here. So I have you joining BeatStars October 2nd, 2019. I don't know if that sounds accurate or not, but that's what I have. So I guess October 1st, 2019. What were you doing the day before you joined BeatStars? Like, what made you join BeatStars? That's what I'm
Good
really asking.
question. So, yeah, honestly, like in October of 2019, um, before I joined BeatStars, I was doing everything over email. Um,
Ooh.
yeah, and it was like really tough because I would have to like do out all the licensing in
Mhm.
Google Docs and then email them over the license, and then they read it, and I heard about BeatStars and I've seen people using it, and I knew other producers that I knew who used it, but I was like, I don't know if it's like really right for me. And I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna try it, whatever. And at this point, I have a decent following on YouTube, so I'm like, well, that's good because I can funnel all the people that
Mhm.
like me on YouTube over to BeatStars. So it's a good portal to just like get a nice jumpstart following. But I didn't really think anything of it. I didn't know how successful it was going to be. I know people were going to want to go through BeatStars because I wasn't familiar with the platform. I didn't know if people were going to trust it.
Mhm.
But as soon as I signed up and I started dropping the links in all my videos, instantly I got like half the emails that I would have got before, and people were just buying them directly to BeatStars, and they were getting the beats right away. And I had double the time now to now not have to ruffle through my files and send out beats to everyone. Instead, I could just sit back and let the store do its own work, and then I could focus on making music. And then it was a great revelation, and I've been using it ever since. I can't recommend it enough.
I appreciate it, man. Shit, that was an advertisement and a half. I love it.
Yeah.
I'll slide you the money after. No, I'm playing. I'm playing. I'm playing. I'm playing. No, man, that's dope. Listen, bro. I love hearing success stories like this because I have my own, man. I was a non-believer too, man. Even when I knew what B-Star was back in the day, I've known Abe for 12 years, or I don't even know how long it's been.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah,
I wasn't sure what it was either. I mean, I was
yeah,
working at Hip Hop DX still. I was still doing an industry shit. Like I didn't really get it either. But once you get it, man, it's like you just are in a whole nother world, man. And it's cool to see people who finally do get it. And then they see it and they're like, oh, this is what you're talking about. I'm like, yeah, like you can build a business, like everything. So
yeah. And I think like, and over the years it's just gotten better and better. But at first I was like, I don't know if people are gonna like really like go to this website to like buy something from me. Like this isn't really my website. But like with the pro page and everything, it makes it look like it's yours, and the interface is just so good that like I started to trust it. And I think before BeatStars for like a month, I experimented with another service similar to BeatStars that we'll not
I,
mention here.
oh, I don't give a shit. My Flash, it was probably my Flash
I
store. I don't
was
know.
it was Track Train.
Oh, Track Train.
Yeah, and Track Train sucks. Uh,
I no comment, dude. Like,
no,
I don't want to get sued for like shitting on them or something. But I honestly never even seen the platform, so I have no idea what it
yeah,
is.
yeah, but I used a different platform before BeatStars. So going to BeatStars, this is my second one, and I'm like, I don't know if I really want to like give this a shot. But I did, and ever since then, it's opened so many doors for me. So I really couldn't have. I don't think I would have been here right now if I never signed up all those years ago.
Well, that's dope, man. Well, we're glad you're here. It's been a pleasure, knowing you over the years. And obviously, I think I feel like it was 2019 when I met you. So I feel like I've known you for at least 2 years at this point. At least talking to you through email and, hearing the track and being like, holy shit, this stuff is dope. And, making sure we playlist it and repost it and just, give you the love that you definitely deserve. So it's crazy, man. Crazy. But all right, cool. So where was I at? So YouTube, man. So you kind of touched on it, right? And I wanted to kind of get into this because I know a lot of people who watch these shows are on YouTube. Some of them are, not having success. Some are having a little bit of success. And they're always trying to figure it out. How do we beat the algorithm? How do we do this? How do we do that? I just talked to a producer about 3 weeks ago who had his channel demonetized because he was stuffing tags in his description. So we went live with DJ Payone and talked about that to give people a heads up. So there's all this stuff changing, right? So in your opinion, and again, this is just your opinion and what you were able to do. What is the sweet spot for YouTube? Like, what do you think you did again outside of the titles and those types of things that we talked about, which I think are genius, and I think a lot of people aren't doing. So maybe they should start there. But after that, what do you think it is? Is it the consistency? Is it?
Ooh, I don't know. I wish I knew the answer to that. And
I know,
it's
right?
like, yeah, I like it was the craziest thing, like the way things worked out for me, because I was just grinding ever since I was 15. As soon as I made my first beat, I thought it was good enough. I posted it on YouTube, and I think I just picked YouTube because it's the platform I use the most. And I think that, like, back in the day when you're like freestyle with your friends, like we'd find beats on YouTube. So I was like, well, it seems like a place where like beats could work. So I
Hmm.
started, and it took me like years and years and years and years to reach like I think probably like 3 years to reach like 1,000 subscribers, and like that was a huge milestone for me. So at that point, I'm probably like 17, and then maybe a couple years later, I hit like 10,000, and then I'm like, okay, like now I'm at like 10,000 subscribers, but it's slow, 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 and then it's so weird. Like one time, I posted a beat, and I woke up the next morning, and it had like 100,000 views. I'm like, what the hell just happened? And then
Hmm.
I go to sleep, wake up the next day, now it's got 500,000 views. I'm like, what the hell is happening? I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, oh my god, it's happening. And then it just snowballed from there. That video gets 1 million views, and I'm like, okay, like let's see if I can do it again. I post another video maybe a week later. I mean, that one gets 100,000 views out of the gate. I'm like, oh my god, like the algorithm somehow just like latched on to me. I don't know what happened. And then after that, every time I posted a beat, it just couldn't lose. Every time I posted a beat, it was getting 500,000, 300,000, and I'm like, wow, like this. I don't know how this happened. Maybe it just was the consistency. I saw someone just put that in the comments. That's a good point. I mean, I was just doing it for so long that I think eventually the algorithm just it has to recommend one of your videos. There's too many of them. I don't really know what it is. Titling, I think, has a lot to do with it. I think things are a lot different now. I know
Hmm.
YouTube has kind of changed the way that type beats work, and I think it has a lot to do with just how many of them there are on the platform. I think YouTube kind of sees them as more of like just kind of like rubbish on the platform, and I think that's obviously bad for producers because there's just so many of them. Not
Hmm.
that say that they're all bad. A lot of them are really good. The
Yeah.
problem is I think they see it as just kind of like this filler content, and like they want to push, obviously the premiere content to the front, so they push all that stuff to the back. Which is a real shame for producers. So things have really changed in the last like year or so, and I know a lot of producers have been seeing lower numbers, and I think that's just has to do with kind of YouTube changing the algorithm. But with those changes, you have to find new ways to beat it. So I mean,
Facts.
we're trying every day to like get ahead, but you can only do so much. So I think YouTube is a little less effective than it was, 2 3 years ago, which is
Hmm.
unfortunate to say. But the positive is there's a bunch of new platforms now. I know like TikTok's blowing up. I know that
Hmm.
guys are just using Instagram now. I know a producer who I'm like, you're on YouTube. He's like, no, I'm not even on YouTube. Like I had no luck there. So I
Hmm.
don't even think it's a necessity anymore. But yeah, as far as beating the algorithm, you just got to be creative. Just try to be different. I think that's something that I did that helped me get there. But to tell you exactly what I did, I wish I could tell you, but I have no idea. I like to say I just got lucky.
Yeah. So I was gonna say, there's definitely a little bit of luck that went into it for sure. Do you remember the beat that you posted that went crazy? That you went to bed, you woke up, had a 100K, and then so on. Do you remember what kind of beat it was or what beat it was?
I think it was called. I think it was called Tokyo. That was like the first one that like actually got a decent amount of views, and then the next one that I posted was called Joker. I remember that was like probably one of the
I
beats that.
remember that one, bro. I think that's how I actually found you.
Yeah, yeah,
One of
yeah.
those bigger beats on YouTube is how I remember coming
The
across
one that
you.
you contacted me about was the Joker
See,
beat. I remember that.
there you go.
Yeah.
Shit, man, good memory. Because that's again, it's your names that made me. It just that stuff stuck to me, and then obviously the beats speak for themselves, and we're gonna hear some in a little bit. But yeah, I remember hearing it and be like, "Oh, this shit is fire." So that's why I hit you up.
Yeah,
What
I
I usually
appreciate
do,
it.
bro, hit up like 20 producers a day, man. No lie. Like I'm always just trying to talk to producers
That's
and
why they
just
call you the producer whisperer.
there you go, man. Shit. But yeah, man, it's dope. Well, super dope, man. So I also actually one more question going back to that. So those big videos that were kind of translating in 100K and more, were you connected to BeatStars at that point, or was this pre-connecting?
Yeah, no, no, no. As soon as I started getting like a lot of views, I was getting a lot of emails, obviously, because the first thing in all my comment sections were always like, hey, if you're interested in this beat, email me here. And then I realized that was just, I couldn't keep up with the volume of emails that I was
Yeah.
getting. It was just too much. And maybe I would have, missed an email, and then that guy finds a new beat, and then I kind of miss out. So I'm like, all right, I have to find a totally new way to do this. And that's kind of where BeatStars came in. So instead of, dropping my email, I dropped the link to my BeatStars page. And then that kind of made everything like way easier as far as like getting the people the beats. So then I could just kind of sit back and work on my music and not have to worry about, kind of serving everyone.
No, it makes sense, man. I was just curious, making sure you got all that traffic coming through. Your leases were probably going ham with
Yeah,
them.
it's going pretty crazy.
It's dope though, man. So dope. How you can go to bed one night and then wake up and it's just like a totally different world you're in. Like,
Yeah. Oh my God, it's the best feeling in the world, man.
yeah,
You
man.
get, awaken. I remember waking up and it still happens, every other day. So you wake up and then, maybe like 3 or 4 sales, or, sometimes, maybe 5, 6, and you're like, wow, like this is amazing. I just got paid to sleep. So it's just amazing how
So dope.
the platform just gives you an ability to kind of, like always have that store running 24/7. It's just, it's a huge benefit.
Passive income, man. You get paid directly and instantly. I mean, what's better than that, in my
I
opinion? I
couldn't
mean,
have said it
shit.
better myself.
Exactly. I got another interesting question for you because this one kind of puzzled me, and maybe you can explain it. So on your YouTube, to date, there may be more that I've missed that were taken down, but you have 212 videos on your YouTube channel. But then we go look at your BeatStars channel, and you have 54 tracks up. And I thought that was very interesting because I've never once interviewed someone on this show. This is, I think, the 18th or 19th episode. A lot of shows had multiple people, talking probably 50, 60 producers over time, had less than 100 beats up. So what was up with that? You didn't put every beat on BeatStars? You did? You sold some exclusively? You took them down? Or
So
what?
yeah, most of them were probably sold exclusively, so then they get removed from the BeatStars platform. But then a lot of those older beats on my YouTube channel were just older beats. And when I made my BeatStars account, I kind of wanted to start fresh because I didn't want to throw all the old stuff on BeatStars because it was very different
Mm,
than the stuff I was making at the time, and it just wasn't quality. Like I'm not gonna throw a beat on BeatStars that I made when I was 15 because it's gonna sound terrible and it's gonna sound very out of place with the other stuff on my BeatStars account. So when I made the BeatStars account, my idea was I know I'm the best producer right now at this point I am. So I'm going to start with the beats that I have right now, and I'm just going to move forward. And that's kind of been my mantra ever since. You don't want to you kind of only want to show people that, okay, this is where I am now at a skill level, and I'm only going to get better. So I didn't want to kind of post older stuff because I think it would have kind of like diluted the whole catalog. So that's kind of why I have less beats. And I'm also pretty slow when it comes to making beats that I like post out for like the public to hear.
yeah.
I'll make a lot of stuff that I'll just send like personally to artists. Because if one guy says, hey, I don't like this beat, it doesn't really hurt my feelings. But if 100,000 people are like, hey, like this beat kind of sucks, I'm like, oh, like that kind of sucks. So I'm very picky when I choose to release. But that's also why a lot of people say I'm very consistent because when I release a beat, I know for a fact I'm like, this is gonna be a great beat. I am very picky on what I choose to release, and that's because I have to be like 100% sure that, okay, people are gonna like this. I love this. I feel like this is better than the last. And then you just kind of keep improving, and it gets harder and harder because you kind of
Yeah.
outdo yourself every time. But that's kind of why I have such little beats because I'm very specific on what I choose to release. But I want the audience to, every time that they see like, oh, there's a new premise beat, they're like, okay, like this is gonna be crazy. I have to hear what this is gonna be. So yeah, so no misses, only hits. So that's what I like to say.
Interesting, man. No, dude, I didn't realize you only had 54 beats up until this morning because like I just assumed, to be honest, and assuming is not good all the time, as you can see, but I assumed you had like 300-400 beats up because every producer I talk to is like in that range, or at minimum at least 100 plus.
Yeah,
So
yeah. And I think there's multiple strategies to doing it. I know a lot of BeatStars producers, a lot of producers in general, who always say like, just drop everything,
mhm.
just drop. You never know what'll hit. But my strategy has always been more of kind of a calculated strategy where it's you only want to be releasing your best stuff. Give people, if the BeatStars account is a representation of you as an artist, you want to give people the best overall, image of you. So I think if they're scrolling through your BeatStars page, like, wow, this one's a banger, this one's a banger, this one's a banger. If you're releasing just every beat that you're making a day, they're all not going to be your best,
Hmm.
unless you're just the best producer ever. I mean, maybe you are, but I think it's important for you to kind of being consistent and only putting out the stuff that you know is your best. And I think that was kind of my strategy moving forward. And I think that's what's kind of got me to this point, was just being super consistent in the quality of beats that I post. So quality over quantity is really how I sum that all up.
I love it, man. I thought maybe you ran out of comic book characters, but it all makes sense now. It all makes it
I
all.
am. I am running out of
I'm
comic
playing.
book
I'm playing.
characters,
I'm playing.
honestly.
No, man, that's super dope. I think this is a very interesting conversation because it's usually the total opposite. And I don't think one way is right and one way is wrong. I think everybody, again, what I said in the beginning of the show is everybody has their own journey. And everybody is kind of who has come on the show has a different story. But again, you still have consistency, but it's in a more calculated way, from the branding to the
Right.
titling to the just what you want people to hear and resonate with. And then somebody else's, consistency is I post 4 times a week, you know what I mean? And I do this, this, and this. Like, everybody has their own thing. So I think that's what you can take away from it. There's not one way to get to 1 million streams or find success selling beats or whatever it is you're doing. I think there's multiple ways of doing it. So it's cool to hear that, man. I am actually excited to listen to some beats now. Do you have any requests? I know you like to make the mixtapes in high school and put all the tracks together. So you tell
Ooh.
me, man, let's put your mixtape together right now, me
One
and
of
you.
my newest favorite beats was it's on beats. It's called Finals. You can find that one. I really like that one.
All right, let me share here. All right, and then let me switch the camera view. Make sure we're still on screen. Let me go here. There we go. All right. All right. So finals, you said? Here it is right here. So I pulled your stuff up by relevance. So this is what it's telling me are the most relevant, and that could mean streams, sales, a lot of combined things. So let's listen to finals. What is this? A Travis Scott times Kanye West. You got Drake and Logic tagged. Let me look at your licensing really quick too. I'm just curious. Wow, you have a lot of licenses. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 of them. Okay. Okay. So exclusives, you're just, hey, $2,500. Anybody can come buy it. You prefer that
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
over make an offer and try to negotiate and
Yeah,
talk to
yeah.
them?
I have the make it offer set up too.
Okay.
But 25 pretty much just kind of um seems like a fair price to kind of just cut out the revenue stream on that beat. So,
Okay.
but I like to keep. I think my prices are relatively fair compared to a lot of other producers. I think that's also a very important tip for anyone listening. $20 for an MP3 license, $5 extra for the wave, and then 80 for the unlimited license. I think is extremely fair.
Very.
Um, yeah, and I think a lot of artists are very surprised. They're like, it's only 80 for the unlimited. And I'm like, yeah, and I think that catches a lot of people and convinces people that maybe we're gonna buy just the basic license, MP3
Hmm.
license. You convince them, well, hey, only $60 more, I can get the unlimited. But if that license is like 250 or 150, and they're like, all right, well, that's like way too much. I'm not gonna dish that out. So I think that keeping your prices fair and competitive is super important because there are a lot of other artists trying to sell their beats for way more.
Yeah, man. Less. It's only $2,480 more to get the exclusive.
Yeah, yeah. It's a limited partner at that point.
I love it, dude. I love it. All right, let's listen to some. Let's listen to some music, man. I've been hype all day to listen to these tracks. All right, we're gonna do finals. Just mute while we're playing. Once we
Okay,
done,
awesome.
we'll unmute and then we'll go to the next one. Let's check finals out. Let's go.
BeatStars.com. 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 BeatStars.com.
Bro, that beat is crazy. You ever think about sending out for a sync, man? Like I could hear that in the NBA Finals or the playoffs or something, or even some type of like hype video on the basketball side of things. You're muted, by the way, still. All right, go. Just making
Yeah,
sure.
but I realized that. Yeah, I love that beat. And I made that the night the Bucks won the NBA Finals, and
Mm.
I was like, damn, I just want to make something like triumphant, like what Giannis probably feels like, walking out of the arena. So then I found that horn sample, and I'm like, this is so hard. And I'm like, I have to chop this up. So I ended up chopping it up, and I made that, and I just, some people in the comments are saying it just sounds like an anthem. I thought that was that was one of my favorite beats that I ever made.
Yeah, Bufo said, let me put him up on the screen. He said that's a Gatorade commercial, man, with the Gatorade pouring all top of your head. And
Yeah.
I love it, dude. I love it, man. No, that beat was definitely fire. I could honestly just listen to that without an artist on it, man. Like I could just vibe out to that. Good gym music too. Gets you pumped. I like
Yeah,
it.
a lot of people say that. I find that funny. That like, oh, like I listen to your stuff at the gym. I'm like, really? I'm like, that's like,
Well,
it's kind of
that
humbling.
yeah, dude. Listen, now that you brought that up, so question: have you thought, or maybe you're doing it, and if you are, I apologize for asking, but have you thought about putting your stuff out on DSPs, dude? Just the beats.
No. People ask. I mean, I like to think like if you want to listen to it, you can just stream it on YouTube. But I probably should, right? Like, because people always ask like you should be on Spotify. Like, I'd like to just listen to the instrumentals. But like,
Yeah,
yeah, I don't know. Like to me, like I want artists to kind of elevate it to the next level. Like to me, like I build all these beats with to be like obviously one I want them to be like to bang without an artist, but I'm putting them out there because I want to inspire people to kind of elevate them to the next level. Like 30 lyrics on this, like bring it to the next level. So I think that you're kind of listening to an incomplete version if you're just listening to the instrumental. But it's flattering, and I always appreciate when people say that.
well, I'll give you two quick points, Ben, that make you think about it a little bit more. One, again, if you're just putting beats up there and there's nobody on it on the publishing side, you're pretty much collecting and owning 100% of the publishing. So there's no splits. So
Mhm.
right off the bat, you get a Spotify channel that gets cranking, and you got even 50,000, 20,000 monthly listeners, and it's above that because I see producers all the time 100,000, 500,000, million, 2 million, 3 million, whatever. Not only are you getting the master royalties through your distributor, the publishing side of things is going to be a nice check as well. And you don't have to split it with anybody. And the second part, if you don't want to put it on Spotify, what I would highly recommend, and I really recommend this to anybody watching, is you can, with BeatStars distribution or any other distributor you want to use. Obviously, I prefer if you use BeatStars, but you can pick the stores you want, and you could at least, at minimum, pick Facebook Music, Instagram Music, and TikTok Music. Because what will happen is, if just say like a basketball player who's big on TikTok and does like crazy trick shots or whatever, finds your beat and they want to use it in that video, if you haven't uploaded it yourself with your name, a beat by Premise or just Premise or whatever it is, it's going to say original sound. It's going to have no name. But if you're on there and they actually use that sound, now it's your name. So you're actually going to be credited
Mm.
and be able to monetize it. But then secondly, how I look at it is, if I'm an artist and I'm watching this video and I hear this beat, I'm like, holy shit, this beat is crazy. I can go look at what the sound is and I'll see Premise, and all I got to do is Google Premise and the beat name, and guess what? Your BeatStars coming up first. So it is another way indirectly to drive traffic, but they're my 2 points, I guess, I want to send to you to think about it a little bit more, because I think it's dope, man. I think you could have a lot of success with it. So
Yeah. No, totally. I got to keep that in mind. I honestly just kind of like open my eyes to that. So I'm definitely gonna check that out in the future.
yeah, if you got questions, bro, you can hit me up, man. No problem. All right, what are we listening to next?
Can you scroll down a little bit? Let's see what else we got here. What else is relevant? Um, how about Dark Side? A funny story about this beat. So this beat's got a switch up, so it's like a two-parter, I guess. And I think what my mindset going in with this one was I wanted to do something kind of like I used to do. So my strategy always with doing like switch ups is like the first part of the beats just got to be like a total fucking banger, right? Like just totally just blow everyone out of the water, and then halfway through kind of catch them off guard, and then maybe like bring the tempo down and kind of like switch it up, and maybe that's not the beat they or wanted to listen to, but kind of like the energy in the beginning kind of draws them in, and then they stick around for the switch. So that's kind of the mindset going in with this one.
I love beat switch ups, man. So I'm hype. I don't think I've ever heard this one either. Let's check it out. Dark Side. Let's go.
BeatStars.com. 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 BeatStars.com.
Bro, that beat is crazy. I was screaming over here, and thank God I was muted. That shit is you kind of combine pretty much what we talked about in the beginning of the show. Like I heard both of your styles come out with that beat switch up, and just overall just craziness, man.
Yeah, that's really what I wanted to do. And I've heard people like who rapped on that beat who just rapped on the first part or just rapped on the second part or did most people just do both. And I think it's doing stuff like that's interesting when you do kind of a switch up like that because maybe they weren't necessarily planning to rap on a boom bap beat. And both of those beats are the same tempo. Might not sound like it, but they're both at 90. I think like 92. Believe it or not. But and I think that's also easy because they can use the exact same flow on both of them and it'll work. So I think that's also super important. So maybe they necessarily are not used to rapping on a boom bap beat, but they're like, hey, if I just use this kind of same flow, I can rap on this, and I think it makes for a really dynamic track, and people really like switch ups like that. So I think that they're not easy to do. The transition phase is usually a little like tough to get right. But if you can pull it off, people really enjoy it, and most of my beats that have big switches like that, do pretty well.
Bro, I keep hearing and seeing like just basketball, something basketball with your beats. Like it's just the influence is heavy. Like that was a highlight reel, another highlight reel. Even with the switch up, like there could have been a whole highlight reel to that whole beat, like just some crazy dunks and whatever it is. But yeah, man, vibes for sure. Shit, listen, it's 3:55 already. Told you the show goes quick. Let's listen to one more, and then I want to make sure you can do your outro and just let the people know where to find you and all that good stuff. But
Okay, scroll down a little bit. I'll pick a good one to end off on.
My bad.
You're good. You're good. You're good.
Just trying to scroll. All right, which one are we looking at?
How about the Lakers beat? Since you like the basketball references so much.
I love it, man. All right, cool. Yeah, let's check it out. Lakers. Let's go.
BeatStars.com. 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 BeatStars.com.
Crazy, bro. Crazy. If I ever go on like a producer whisperer world tour where I'm speaking, I'm gonna tap in with you, bro, to get my theme music to come out to the crowd and get them hyped.
Awesome. Yeah,
That
hook
shit.
you up.
That shit is fire. You need to make a beat like similar like this, like in the same range, and do something called the Sixers, and then have Allen Iverson where he's stepping over what's his face. Remember that back in the day when Iverson
Yeah,
then stepped over that dude? I love that photo, man. That's just
yeah.
as hard as shit. Yo, man, awesome stuff. I'm so glad that we got to listen to some of these beats because I know a lot of your catalog, but honestly, all three of these I don't think I've ever heard, or if I did, I just haven't remembered them. But that second beat, bro. You need to send me that, man. We gotta get that to somebody, man. Have you had any people like reach out about any of these beats? Or I mean, obviously you're selling a lot of leases, you're doing well.
Yeah, so as far as like big artists go, I've had unfortunate luck. I've had a few big artists like contact me, like a management contact me. I've had NLE Choppa contact me about getting on a beat of his people, not him personally. I've had the Underachievers contact me about getting one of my beats, who's like a popular group here in New York, and then Logic actually ended up rapping on one of my beats on a live stream, and then he ended up like saying like, "Oh, I think this is a dope beat. I really want to do something with this." And I heard a little bit from his people, but then after that, really nothing. But I'm not really in it for like a big placement. Like obviously that'd be cool, but I'm not really like gunning for that. And I hope that with time it'll eventually just happen. So to anyone out there who's kind of like, praying and hoping for a big placement, someone like me, I've been doing it for 8 years and still never happened. But I'm hoping with constant consistency that that hopefully it'll happen one day.
Yeah, bro. No, man, it's shit. If Logic was hitting you up, man, let's talk after the show. We definitely got some ins to the Logic camp, man. We can probably make something happen because I heard Logic on a bunch of those beats too. So, and overall, it's just fire. Yeah, but that second one, I kept hearing Nas on that second one. On this more of the switch up, obviously, but I think obviously Nas is one of the greatest rappers of all time. He could get on anything, but I really heard him just kind of like the Hit Boy stuff he's been doing recently. Very just
Yeah,
soulful and impactful and just
yeah,
very
yeah, yeah.
just motivational. Like I don't know, just it's that mature Nas. I like that mature Nas. You know what I mean? Like he's been through it all. He's seen it all. So that's the vibes I got. Just a very like an experienced beat, if that makes any sense. But yeah, dude, listen, 4 o'clock, man. We rocked out for an hour. It was great. I want to give you the floor really quick. Just talk to the people, let them know where they can find you. Obviously, your BeatStars, what social media you prefer. You're big on YouTube. I forgot to mention you have 237,000 subscribers on YouTube. So we're not talking about a little channel here. We're talking about a big channel. How can people get in touch with you, man? And secondly, if people can hit you up directly, are you open to collaborations? I know you're very specific and calculated how you're putting things out. Are you the same with how you're working with people? I guess let everybody know because I'm sure a lot of people are going to want to hit you up and try to
Yeah,
collab.
as far as collaborations go, just hit me up. Hit me up. Maybe if you got something to start with, if you have a dope melody or maybe like just like a skeleton of a beat that you really feel like like premise could bring this to the next level, definitely send it over. You can hit me up on Twitter. I think it's just underscore premise underscore. Obviously, you can find me on YouTube, Premise on the Beat, BeatStars, Premise on the Beat. You can message me there too. I always respond to my BeatStars messages. So yeah, you can find me on all those platforms, and I appreciate anyone out there who's listening. Any producers who are listening, I have a drum kit too. If you want to use some of those similar drum sounds you just heard, it's called the Ultimate Drum Kit. A lot of those sounds that you just heard can be found in those drum kits. So definitely pick those up if you're looking to make kind of a similar sound to me. So yeah, I appreciate you all for tuning in and listening. This was a lot of fun. I appreciate you, Mike. You're great.
Oh shit, man! Appreciate you, bro. That was listen. That was my next question. My next question was going to be, I had people asking in the chat for a kit, and I know Chris, our playlist manager, was in here earlier. He's probably still here, and he said he reposted one of your kits. But I want to make sure we repost the kit you just said because I think a lot of people were gravitating towards the drums and that sound. What was the kit again? What was the name one more time?
It's called the Ultimate Drum Kit. It's my newest one. If you
Okay.
pick that one up, I also linked. If you buy it, you'll get one of my older drum kits in the same folder. So you'll get like a ton of sounds for just $20. So it's a great deal, and it's a ton of the sounds that I use on an everyday basis. It's my favorite kit, obviously, because I made it. But yeah, so if you want to pick up some of the similar sounds, that's definitely about to go.
Dope, Chris. And if you're still in here, man, if not, I'm gonna hit you up after this. But if you're in here, if you didn't repost that kit, unrepost the one you did and repost that one because I want to repost that one because that was the one that I think people were asking about. So, all right, guys. Well, listen, end of the show. Had a great time. Premise, man. Thank you so much, dude. I've learned a lot. Pleasantly surprised with a lot of stuff. Man, wasn't expecting a lot of it. So thank you for telling us your story and being super transparent about it. Because we're all hungry. I'm still trying to learn. I'm still trying to get better at what I do. So you're an inspiration, bro. Keep doing your thing. Let's definitely keep talking.
Appreciate it, man.
And guys, go support Premise, man. He's killing it out here from the muscle, man. He's really doing it. So definitely tap in with him. And yeah, everybody enjoy their weekend. And yeah, we'll talk to you all later. Thanks again, guys. Peace.
Okay, everyone.